Welcome to Vacuum Wars, and to our review of the Ecovacs Deebot X11 OmniCyclone. This is Ecovacs' latest and greatest robot vacuum mop combo, and it's a big deal for a couple of reasons. For one, it's the first robot vacuum mop combo we've seen in a long time that has a bagless auto-empty bin, but it's also packed with some of Ecovacs' most advanced features to date. After buying one for ourselves and testing it extensively over several weeks, I can say that in some ways the X11 stunned us. It scored among the highest numbers we've ever recorded in several tests, and it may very well be the best robot vacuum for pet hair we've ever tested, which is not something I say lightly. That said, the X11 is not perfect. It does have a number of drawbacks that you'll need to be okay with if you're thinking of buying it. But overall, it's an innovative product that gets a lot of really important things right. In this video, I'll go over the pros and cons of the X11, and at the end, reveal where it ended up ranking in the Vacuum Wars Top 20 Robot Vacuum list on our website. Links in the description, and let's get started. Starting off with the pros, and we'll begin with its raw performance. The X11 has some of the best suction and airflow numbers in the industry. We've seen this a lot with Ecovacs' products recently, and it's probably a result of what they're calling blast technology, which is a combination of a bigger motor and redesigned fan blades on the motor, which results in higher suction numbers than many of its competitors. In the suction test we did, it registered well over double the average amount of suction, along with top-tier airflow numbers as well. And this raw power did seem to show up in the various practical performance tests that we did. As far as sweeping floors on both hard floors and carpets, it's fairly standard. It uses a single side brush as well as a single main brush, and it did as good as you would want it to do in the various pickup tests that we did, picking up debris from both surface types with no issues. But where it really impressed me was with deep cleaning. For example, in our carpet deep clean test, where we embed sand into medium carpet, it scored 85%, which is well above average and among the highest scores we've ever recorded. And that brings me to what might be its biggest strength, which is pet hair. In our 2.5-inch pet hair test, where we flatten hair into carpet to mimic real-world conditions, the X11 got a perfect 100%, which is rare for robot vacuum mop combos. It also performed perfectly in our 7-inch hair wrap test, which measures how well the brush resists tangles, thanks probably to Ecovacs' ZeroTangle 3.0 technology, which resists hair tangles. In fact, the X11 was one of only 2 flagship robot vacuum mop combos we've ever tested to get perfect scores on both of those pet-related tests. So we decided to do a special head-to-head test between the X11 and the only other flagship to do the same thing, the Dreame L50 Ultra. We ran a super torture test using much longer hair. We did a 10.5-inch run and a 14-inch run, and the X11 came out on top. It handled the 10.5-inch hair perfectly and resisted 50% of the 14-inch hair, which is pretty impressive. Another big pro for the Ecovacs X11, and another area where it also beat out the Dreame L50, was with mopping ability. The Ecovacs X11 uses a roller-style mop pad, which in many ways is superior to the dual spinning style mop pads. Basically, it sprays water with jets onto the roller as it mops, and then it squeegees excess water into an onboard dirty water tank. This allows these roller-style mop pads to be able to pick up wet spills where other styles can't, but we measure mopping performance based on the much more common dried stains. And in our dried-on stain test, the X11 got a 136, much better than the L50 and much better than average. The water it left behind was only 0.7 grams, which is also below average, which is a good thing. And when you add those two numbers up, the combined score for mopping performance with the X11 was extremely good. Its mop roller also extends to one side automatically for better edge coverage. Another huge pro for the X11 is its multifunctional dock, and the headline feature with its dock is that it's the first robot vacuum mop that we've seen in a long time that has a bagless bin. This means that you don't have to buy disposable bags over and over again. You can empty the bin like you would a normal bagless upright vacuum. This is another reason why I think that the Ecovacs Deebot X11 is one of the best choices for pet hair. Not only is it, as we've seen, the best at picking up hard-to-get pet hair off of floors, especially carpets, but if you have a lot of pets and a lot of pet hair to pick up, you don't have to continually buy disposable bags with the X11, which can fill up rather fast if you have a lot of pets that shed. The bagless bin on the X11 is not without its downsides, though, and I'll talk about that when we get to the cons section. There is a reason why you don't see bagless bins on robot vacuum mops that often, but we'll come to that later. The dock also has all the bells and whistles you would expect from a high-end system. system. It washes and dries the mop roller using 167-degree water. It has dual mop solution tanks for different types of mopping jobs, which is new for Ecovacs. But probably one of the most underrated features with the X11's multifunctional dock is what they're calling power boost charging. This is utilizing a so-called GAN Superburst charging system, which is a mixture of hardware and software upgrades, which restores 6% of the battery power in a 3-minute routine mop cleaning interval. So every time the X11 goes back to its base mid-clean to wash its mop and empty its dustbin, it's also getting a battery boost during that time. This is something that Ecovacs says can give you a, quote, perpetual runtime experience. And that's important because one of the issues that people have with robot vacuums that have a lot of power is that they typically have bad battery life. But if you can continually recharge its battery during the run, it can effectively just keep going, even for larger floor plans. In our battery efficiency tests, the X11 had the largest battery efficiency number on record. It also had the same basic, extremely large battery efficiency in the home tests that we did. So I think it probably does work, and it's a pretty important invention if it does. It might be a solution for people with really large floor plans. Another big pro was its obstacle avoidance. The X11 uses front-mounted sensors, including a camera and what appears to be 3D structured light as a part of Ecovacs' AIVI 3.0 system. In our tests, it avoided 20 out of 24 obstacles, which is much higher than average, and it was pretty trustworthy in the real-world scenarios too. There's also a feature where it uses the camera to detect dirty spots on the floor, and it will strategically mop those spots more thoroughly, which is a nice feature. The Ecovacs app itself is fairly robust. It gives you detailed control over the robot's cleaning settings, mapping, and dock behaviors, and it includes the company's built-in voice assistant, Yico. That said, there are some caveats with the app, and that brings us to the cons. The first thing is the navigation. The X11 has the same basic internal LiDAR navigation that we've seen with most of Ecovacs' flagships lately, really since the X1, and I'm generally speaking not very impressed with this new system. I think it's a significant downgrade from their previous top-mounted LiDAR systems. Now, the reason that companies like Ecovacs are doing this is to make their robots slimmer so that they can fit under more furniture, but in this case, it doesn't really even achieve that. The X11's larger motor already makes it as tall as a robot with top-mounted LiDAR, about 4 inches tall. So you end up with the worst of both worlds. It's not that slim, and its navigation is slightly subpar. I tested the X11 at the studio and at my house, and what I found is that it was pretty bad at first, but it tends to get better the more times you run it. Because of the internal LiDAR, the Ecovacs' map is just subpar, and it's not really good enough for it to have a complete run its first time, so it makes its first run seem incredibly chaotic. The first run with the X11 took 30 minutes longer than normal. It spent like 17 minutes in a bathroom because it was confused by a rug. It would just spin in circles a lot. I almost gave up on it. But after running it 3 or 4 more times, I also remapped. It got much better. And every run since then has been more or less perfect. It hasn't got stuck, and it's been doing its run in more or less average time. So its navigation is certainly usable if you give it time, but it's not nearly as fast or accurate as other flagship robots, especially on that first run. The second major con has to do with the bagless auto-empty system. As convenient as it is not to have to buy bags, there is a reason that most companies don't do this, especially with vacuum mop combos. Because when you vacuum and mop at the same time, the debris and hair that you collect inevitably gets damp, and damp debris sticks to the inside of the plastic on the auto-empty bin. So when you empty it, it doesn't all come out, it's messy, and you'll need to clean it regularly. So while I do like bagless bins, you do need to be okay with regular maintenance. A few other small things to note. Ecovacs advertises something called True Pass climbing, but I wasn't all that impressed with it. They claim it can handle significant threshold heights, but the key number to look for is its single-tier threshold climbing ability. With the X11, it's only 23 millimeters, which is only 3 millimeters above average. Another thing is that the internal dustbin on the X11 is only 220 milliliters, which is extremely small. So in conclusion, I really do mean it when I say that the Ecovacs Deebot X11 OmniCyclone might be the best robot vacuum for pet hair that we've ever tested. It's incredibly powerful, it deep cleans carpets better than most, and it's incredibly good with picking up pet hair and resisting hair tangles. Combine that with its bagless dock, hot water mop washing, strong obstacle avoidance, and unique power boost charging system, and you've got a very compelling flagship. The main thing holding it back for me is its navigation system, which again is is usable but noticeably below average. And when you add up all the numbers, the Ecovacs X11 ended up ranking number 5 on the Vacuum Wars Top 20 Robot Vacuum list on our website. But Ecovacs, if you're listening, if you fixed the navigation issue, it would easily be ranking number 1. Links in the description, and be sure to subscribe to Vacuum Wars before you go. Thanks for watching. All of the links in the description are updated regularly to reflect our current favorite vacuums in multiple categories. You'll also find links to the Vacuum Wars website in the description, where we have more detailed lists of our favorite products, like our new Top 20 Robot Vacuums list, which is updated weekly.